Okay, so hello everyone, good morning, happy Friday. Today I'm going to be talking about job and internship searching and sort of the basics and different methods to do that. And hello, my name is Natasha. If we haven't met yet, I'm the Life and Work Advisor at the Patty Disney Center for Life and Work. And that's my email if you ever wanted to contact me. Oops. Okay, so a little overview of what I'll be talking about today. I'm going to introduce the Center for Life and Work and some of the resources that we offer. Then I'll be talking kind of generally how to organize your job search, and then talk a little bit about freelance, and then generally searching online for like positions within companies, and then searching offline, sort of. Not offline meant something a little different before, but for now, offline means still online, but more trying to do the networking route and trying to make personal connections with people and kind of searching for jobs that way versus like searching on anonymous job boards, even though all the searching is technically online. And then I'll be talking about the application materials and the things that you want to have ready during your search, and then some general food for thought, especially for students that are graduating very shortly and entering kind of your big full-time job search. So if you have not met us yet, this is a Center for Life and Work team. It's made of the three of us. We have our director, Bailey, and these are the topics that we meet with students and alum about. So she meets with students and alum about Fulbright. So if you're interested in Fulbright and kind of working and like researching and practicing your art abroad, she's a really great person to talk to. She's like our Fulbright kind of coordinator for our campus. So she has a really great program going where if you're interested in Fulbright, she sets up a lot of meetings with you and keeps you on track and like make sure you get your application in on time. So it's a really good process to be in. She also meets with students about entrepreneurship, and she's actually co-teaching a class right now on entrepreneurship. And then usually she would also meet with students about travel grants and fellowships that we offer through the Center for Life and Work, although that's on pause right now. But if you're still like looking to travel and want to know about like funding resources externally, she can help you with that as well. In addition to just grad school, if you're interested in that and kind of like want to talk to someone about it or have someone review your application materials, she's a really good person to do that with. And then we have our assistant director, Zarina, who her meetings with students and mostly students surround internships, some like searching for internships, but largely the more formal processes of how to get your internships to count for academic credit. She's the one that can help you with that. And then there's myself, Natasha, the Life and Work Advisor. And my meetings are about more kind of like general career topics. So reviewing professional package materials or application materials like resumes, CVs, cover letters, portfolios, getting prepared for interviews or even running through practice interviews together. And then I can tell you like how you did. Also, like everything that I'm going to be talking about in this presentation, if you wanted to talk more about job and internship searching one-on-one, I can help you with that as well. In addition to just like LinkedIn and networking and other career topics I'm happy to meet with you about. And if you haven't visited our Center for Life and Work page on the CalArts website, I suggest that you do. You just go to calarts.edu and then the Life at CalArts tab, and then under that, there's the Center for Life and Work, and then our kind of sub tabs there have a lot of information on each of those. And I will get into the job search support tab a little later. Okay, so now for the content of the presentation. And I do want to say this is largely kind of from the lens of you're almost graduating or largely for graduating students that are kind of like really going into like a big search. But it's still definitely, even if you are a continuing student and just looking for like part-time or summer work or something, a lot of this can still apply, but I just kind of wanted to say, like, when I was making this presentation, I was kind of more looking from the lens of graduating students that are like applying to a lot of jobs at the same time. So if that's your position, even if it's not, it's still a good idea to be very organized in your search. So you'll want to use some sort of software, whatever you use or are comfortable with using to keep track of information, like Google or an Excel sheet, to track all of the things that you're applying to or all the positions you're interested in applying to. And you want to keep track of like consistent information like the position, company, location, the application link, the date that you submitted the application, a person's contact email with that organization, just all of that, because you will be applying to a lot of different positions. So it's a really, really good idea just to keep track of all of that for yourself. And a very, very important point is to save the job descriptions of the positions that you apply to. Because when you are applying to a lot of different positions, and there's usually a good amount of time between like when you submit an application and when you hear back about if you got like a first round interview or something. That may be like weeks even. And sometimes by the time you hear back about a position, they may have removed the posting from online. So if you didn't save the posting and it's no longer online and you have an interview coming up, it makes it harder sometimes to prepare for the interview because you don't have that whole description in front of you. So it's a really good idea to be like screenshotting or saving somehow those job descriptions so you can always refer back to them because they're not always going to be online for you to find. And another important element of organizing your search is to block off time on your calendar that you want to dedicate to your job search. And of course, follow through with those times that you set for yourself. You can't search for jobs unless you're doing it. So just be very intentional about how you're spending your time in your search, and again, just really following through on those plans that you make to be searching. Also, just set attainable and realistic goals for yourself. If you're someone that needs like a goal to be working toward in order to accomplish things, just set them for yourself. Like say you want to apply to like 5 different positions over these next few days, or you want to apply to like 7 to 10 positions over the course of a week. Whatever you feel like you can handle and that will keep you motivated and keep you focused, just set those things for yourself. Okay, and then I want to talk a little bit about freelance because in some ways it can be different than looking for jobs that are like part of a company. There are some different methods that you might go about searching for freelance opportunities, although many might still be the same as searching for like regular jobs or internships. But some of the things that make searching for freelance work different or different methods that you can use to search for freelance work. There are a handful, or a lot really, of websites that are dedicated to connecting freelancers with clients. So these are some examples here: Upwork, Guru, Freelancer, all of those. And a lot of these work by you making like a detailed profile on that site, like listing your skills, of course having a portfolio, showing your work, maybe even like listing past clients or something. And then like clients can like look through the profiles and like select you that way. But some sites do, because they are kind of like doing that service of connecting you to clients, they do sometimes keep a percentage of your earnings from those interactions. So that is a little different than if you're just like searching for jobs online. And something else, well, in all cases, your portfolio and online presence is very important, but especially with freelance work, because that's how you're going to like market yourself, is like through your work online mostly. And also it's very much on you to maintain your client relationships, and also to very actively market yourself. A lot of your personal marketing and your relationships, that's mostly on you, whereas like if you're working for a company, you don't really have to worry about that as much. So yeah, just some differences with freelance versus like more traditional like working for company jobs. So now we're going to get into job searching online, which everyone's doing, especially now. And I just wanted to say kind of a quick distinction between like some of these more popular job boards like Indeed, Glassdoor, internships.com, all of those. Some of them have the option of doing like a quick apply. So that's usually just like a button that you press and it like automatically sends your resume to them. So I would caution you against using the quick apply feature. Um, you always, if you can, whenever you see like a job posting on one of these general job boards, always try to go back to like that company's website, whoever it says like is posting the job, and see if they do have like that position also listed on their website. Maybe they have like different application instructions there, or if there's any different information in that posting. You just want to make sure that you really have the accurate instructions for submitting an application. Excuse me. And sometimes like you may find that in one, like in a job posting, even on the ones that have the quick apply option, like maybe in that description toward the bottom, it says like email your application to this person or like apply on the website or something. So unless there's like no other options of submitting an application, then they might like actually want you to use the quick apply feature. But otherwise, you just want to be very, very sure of how they actually want you to submit your application. So with these popular job boards, they're just some examples of the most common ones that are like for all industries. And for these, you can, most of them, if not all of them, you can set up like email alerts. So you don't always have to be actively combing through all of these. You can just set up an email alert for like certain job titles or fields or something, and then they'll automatically email you when positions that meet your criteria are posted. So you don't have to, again, be as actively looking on those. And then we also have some job searching resources on our Center for Life and Work website. So since you have all RSVP'd for this workshop, you have been on Compass. And if you haven't explored it yet, Compass also has a nice job board feature where you can search for positions, see what's available. So definitely spend some time on that when you're searching for things. But also on our Center for Life and Work website, on like the calarts.edu website, under that job search support tab that I mentioned earlier, we have a bunch of informational guides and kind of like little guidelines and handouts, documents on things like how to format resumes and cover letters, how to write an artist bio or statement, and how to prepare for interviews, like various things like that. We have a lot of resources online. We also have a bunch of links to creative industry job boards that I just like screenshot like half of them just to show you that they are mostly, yeah, creative industry focused and just another place to be searching in addition to those like more general like Indeed type job boards. And then, especially for where we are right now, I wanted to share some remote job boards. All of these websites like exclusively post jobs that are remote or like at least currently remote. So even, especially it's more increasing now that the more general and even the creative industry job boards will be posting and sharing more remote opportunities. I just wanted to let you know that there are also a bunch of job boards out there that only post remote job opportunities. So these are just yet another place to be looking online for any open positions. And now I'm going to be talking about searching offline, which again, I don't mean literally offline. I mean just not on the like anonymous job boards. These are more, again, going through like networking and trying to make personal connections and like looking for jobs in that way. So I firstly wanted to just throw out this definition of networking from the Oxford Dictionary, which says that networking is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. So I wanted to throw this out because I feel like there are a lot of like sometimes fears and like assumptions around what networking is, and that it's kind of like this very formal thing, which it definitely is not. It can literally just be like what this definition says, like interacting with other people, just talking to other people. That is networking. If it's kind of like within sort of like the professional or social realm, that's networking. So pretty much the people that you've talked to that kind of know who you are, that's your network. So it's not hopefully as daunting of an idea as you may have thought before. So I wanted to share with you a handful of networking tools because in the job search, the best way to get jobs, of course, is like through personal connections. It's much easier for a company to want to hire someone that like they know, that they've like seen work before, or that they like know someone that knows them that can put in a good word for them. That's always feels more safe than taking a chance on like someone that they don't know, which is not to say that you can't get like jobs from cold applications. I actually got like this job that I'm in from a cold application, but it is always the most common to get positions from a network, from people that you know and using your network. So I wanted to share a bunch of tools for networking. Just wanted to remind you that anyone that you already know is your network. So your faculty, staff, alum, current students, your peers, other like CalArts community members or people in your own community, your family. These people are all in your network and can all possibly have connections to other people that you might want to get to know better, want to meet, want to talk to. Another tool that you can use for networking is informational interviews, which I will go into shortly, and then also LinkedIn's alumni tool, which I will get into as well. So an informational interview, what is it? It's very simply, it's an informal conversation with someone in an industry or position or company that you're interested in. And it's a way to learn about what it's like to work in the quote unquote real world. And it's a great way to build your professional network. And I just want to say that an informational interview is not a formal interview, and it's not a time to ask for a job. Although it can help you get one in the future, because now that you've met with this person in your industry, or a company that you're interested in, now they know you, and they're part of your network. And that's something that you can rely on later on. And kind of like after you've made this initial connection with someone, you can reach out to them again in the future. But really, the informational interview, the main purpose is to just learn from this person. And this may be something that you have done before, like not knowing what it's called. Just you talk to someone with more experience than you and like ask them questions, and just like kind of maybe try to get to know if they have any advice or like how they got to where they are today. That is an informational interview, and it can kind of be more or less formal. But yeah, it's a really, really good, valuable tool. So some questions that you might ask in an informational interview can include: how'd you get started in your career? What does a typical workday look like? What skills or experience would be useful to have or helpful to have in this field? What trends or new trends do you see in this industry? What are the greatest challenges or rewards for this position? Do you have any advice for me? Are there any resources you would recommend for me to use? So you can see with these type of questions, it really is just about literally collecting information and trying to learn from this person's insights and like their history and experience, and their expertise. So again, you're not asking for a job, you're just asking them for information, but you can definitely also like share information about yourself. Hopefully they ask you some questions about yourself so that they can get to know you a little bit, so they can know like how to help you. But yeah, it really is just about learning from this person. And also if you're wondering how to ask someone for an informational interview, it's of course best to ask someone that you already know, so someone in your network, faculty, staff, coworkers, like that. Or you can ask anyone that's in your network if they know anyone else that they can connect you to. Or you can also research CalArts alum on LinkedIn, which you kind of, if you don't know them already, you would be reaching out to them cold, but it is more likely that they would respond to you because you have that connection of like being a CalArts student or recent alum. Um, versus just like looking up a company and like looking for an employee and trying to reach out to them cold. Having any sort of connection will make it a little more likely for the person to respond to you reaching out to them. And I just wanted to let you know, if you want like very detailed examples of like how to write an email to someone asking for an informational interview, there are a lot of resources online. So just Googling like informational interview email templates will give you a lot of results, and like very specific ones, like with this screenshot here, emailing someone you know to ask for a referral, emailing a stranger with or without a referral. So there are a lot of resources out there for you to use. You just have to do the work of identifying whoever you want to ask and then sending that email out. And just some quick tips for conducting an informational interview. Like I was saying before, you want to be prepared for them to ask you questions about your interests and experience and goals. So don't expect that you're going to be the only one asking questions. They hopefully will also ask you some things about yourself. So just, you know, before the interview, just take time to like reflect on yourself and your interests and things like that, just so you're able to share it with them. And also very important to remember that you are the one that's responsible for the meeting, you asked for it, so you have to be responsible and prepared. So, and you want to be prepared by coming with questions and some sort of like note-taking material, whatever you need to keep track and like take notes for what they're saying. And it is a very short meeting. It should be short. Sometimes, well, usually the person you're talking to is like a working professional, so they may not have that much time to share. So even just asking for like a 10 to 15-minute phone call, and you do want to honor, if you say like it's going to be a certain amount of time, like you want to honor and stick to that and just be very respectful of their time. And you want to research the person that you're interviewing. So you can ask them very specific questions that show how prepared you are and like how that you've done your research and that you're very invested and interested in learning about them. And then after the interview, you always, always, always need to send some sort of like thank you note or an email afterward, just to show your appreciation. It's a really good professional courtesy because they're doing you a favor. So you just want to thank them. Okay, that was a lot of information, but any questions so far about anything that I've said? Feel free to just unmute yourself if you have any questions. Okay, cool. So if you do have any questions that you think of, I'll of course be asking at the end again if there's any more questions. But I wanted to share one of the other networking tools that you can use is on LinkedIn, which if you don't have a LinkedIn account, I do recommend making one because LinkedIn has a lot of really, really useful features for the job search. Well, firstly, it has like a job board like the other job boards. But it's also a really, really good tool for networking because you can look up companies directly and like see their employees and see any like posts that they make. So it's a really, really good site to be on, especially when you're like very actively searching for jobs. And if you wanted more information about LinkedIn, like you don't have an account yet, or you don't really know all of its features, LinkedIn puts out a lot of resources specifically for students or like recent alum on how to use it and introducing you to a lot of different functions. So spend some time looking into it if you don't have an account yet, or even if you do have an account and you don't really know how to use it. I highly recommend looking into that. But I did want to show you, so LinkedIn's alumni tool is a really good networking tool, and you'll just, in the search bar, look up California Institute of the Arts, and then you'll be brought to the Institute's page. And then at the left, the menu at the left-hand side, you'll click alumni, and then you'll be brought to this page where you can select different like attributes of people that you're looking for. So say you're thinking of, you want to move to San Francisco, so you want to like select people that are working or living in San Francisco right now. Maybe you want people that are working for a certain company or something. Or you want people working in a certain industry or that studied whatever you studied. You just select whatever criteria and attributes that you're looking for, and then LinkedIn generates a list of all the people, all of the CalArts alum that meet those criteria. So then with that, you can do kind of the more passive, I guess, method of like clicking on people that are working in positions that you're interested in, and you can just look at their work history that they've listed on their LinkedIn and kind of see how they got to where they are now, like the different positions, companies, things like that. And you can really learn a lot from that. But if you want to be more active and actually network with them, you'll want to try to connect with them on LinkedIn. So when you connect with them on LinkedIn, you will want to always add a note so that it's not just like a friend request out of the blue from someone they don't know. Adding the note is very important just to give them context, to very briefly introduce yourself and say why you're trying to connect and why you want to reach out to them. So an example of this it could be, hi Shannon, I'm a BFA 3 in creative writing at CalArts. I see that you graduated from the same program and are a screenwriter at Netflix, and I'm interested in pursuing similar work. Would it be possible to find time to connect this week so I can ask about your career path? So I know that creative writing, BFA 3, is not a real thing, but yeah, it doesn't have to be super long. You don't have to go in a lot of detail, and there's not enough space to go in a lot of detail when you are sending a message to connect to someone. So yeah, just be very straight to the point, but do make sure that you point out that you are like a CalArts student or a recent alum. So make it very clear that you like have a connection with them, and that's why you're reaching out, because you want to learn a little bit more about them. Cool. So other things that you can do sort of like quote unquote offline or more focused on networking is you can be attending CalArts events that bring external speakers or employers to campus. Not as much right now, but hopefully in the fall when we are back on campus. Even when like external people come and they're not there to expressly talk about like work related things or like talk about their, like they're not recruiting or anything, even if it's someone that's coming from outside from a different company or something, you can always at least like at the end of the presentation like ask for their contact information. And if it's not really the right time in that moment to kind of like introduce yourself and like kind of get into like a little networking talk, like you can always, again, at least ask for their information, introduce yourself and say that, you know, you're very interested in what they had to say or their company or something. And then you'd love to like follow up with them in an email later. So yeah, even because CalArts does bring in a lot of external artists and people that are working in different areas or for different companies. So that's a great way to kind of start building your professional network, is just reaching out to those people that come and then because it's so valuable to have people that you've seen like face to face, or just who know who you are at like a basic level. That's very valuable in the job search. You can also join professional associations or organizations in your field. A lot of them have, if they are something that you have to like pay to be a member of, have discounted rates for students or recent alum. You can attend conferences when that starts happening again, joining student organizations that often have connections to alumni. And you can also volunteer at events or with different organizations. These are all just ways to get yourself either literally in front of someone or virtually in front of someone, to just get yourself known and like your name out there, and to grow your network, which is very valuable. Okay, so now going to talk about application materials, or the things that you need to have prepared when you are searching for jobs. So firstly, if you have not spent a lot of time yet looking for jobs, this may not be something that you're aware of, but most positions, in addition to like, you already know, like a resume and cover letter to submit, a lot of positions have like an actual form application that you have to fill out too. So these will usually ask for things like the details of your past employment. I mean, in addition to like your own personal like data and information, they'll also ask about details of past employment, which can be a lot. If you've had a handful of different positions before, you definitely want to make sure that you have a document that you can copy and paste from that has things like the dates of your employment, your supervisor employer's address and phone number, their title, things like that. And also the duties that you performed in a position, which can be, in some cases, like the same content that you have in a resume or a CV. But just make sure that you have it in a document that you can easily copy and paste from for a lot of different forms that you'll be filling out. So in addition to that, of course, you're going to need a resume and usually a cover letter. So with the resume, it's very important that you're noting keywords from the job description, and ideally tailoring the resume to each position that you're applying to. And with a cover letter, you'll definitely be writing, that one will sometimes be more different than the resume, whereas like a resume, if you're applying to similar positions at different companies, your resume might be like pretty much the same for the ones you submit to. But the cover letter should change a bit because you're going to be writing to each company specifically. So you're going to want to say something about like why you want to work for that company, which should kind of change based on each company. And then references are something that they may ask for in an application. And these will be on a separate document and will have information like the person's name, their title, where they work, and their email and phone number. And sometimes like their relationship to you. So they can be like a current or former professor, current or former supervisor, things like that. And you do always want to ask the people that you're going to be listing as a reference, if you can list them as a reference. And if you are kind of almost graduating, or you've just graduated and you are applying to a lot of different things, you can always just send like an initial email to someone that you're thinking you might want to list as a reference for several positions. Just email them initially and say that you want to list them as a reference for a lot of different positions, and ask if they prefer if you ask them like before each position listing, or if you can just list them for the next few and maybe like update them every so often, like, hi, I listed you as a reference for this position and this position and this position. So they may like want alerts every single time that you're going to list them, or they might be okay with you just updating them every so often that you listed them for like a certain number of positions and what those were. Just ask them how they want to be, firstly, if they are okay being your reference, and then secondly, how they want you to let them know when you list them. And then you'll also want to be prepared potentially if you're applying to internships that you might need letters of recommendation. So just have some of those people in mind and ask for your letters of recommendation well before the application is due to give them a lot of time to write good letters. Also, having your virtual portfolio or reel or website ready to go. Some applications may ask for that. And you also may want to list your website or portfolio or whatever on your resume, like within your contact information. You may want to put a link to your website there as well. And then some positions also may ask for some sort of artist bio or statement. So that's just another thing that you might need to have ready. And I can also help you preparing any and all of these materials. So you have some support in that, because it is a lot. It's kind of daunting. There is a lot that has to be prepared, but I'm here to help you with that. Okay, so now some general food for thought and just things to think about before and during your job search. And again, this is largely through the lens of for graduating students that are about to be spending a lot of time searching. So if you didn't already know, if you're currently employed and you don't want your current employer to know that you're job searching, you can always say in your applications, and there's usually like a checkbox when you're listing like current or previous employment, saying like yes or no that they can contact your employer. So you can always say no, that you don't want your current employer to be contacted. That's a situation that anyone will understand, so that's totally fine. Also, it's very important to start early, start as early as possible with your search and stay motivated. It may take longer than you thought or longer than you would like. So whatever you need to do for yourself to stay motivated is important to identify that for yourself and to do it. Also, just generally, you can apply to positions even if you're not a 100% match. And you really should be applying to positions that if you at least like mostly meet the requirements that they're looking for, because you never know. It may be like actually in the employer supervisor's mind that like there's some experiences or skills or something that they're a little more lenient on, and like maybe they only have a few that they're like, okay, our person like absolutely needs to have these. So totally apply to things even if you're not 100% match, because you never know like what really is the most important to an employer. And then do not wait to hear back before sending out more applications for positions. So the job application process can be very long. It may be that you submit an application for a position and then a week or two later you hear back about a first round interview, and then you schedule it for maybe a week later. Then you have that first round interview, and then maybe it's another week or two before you hear back about a second round interview. And then it can be after that final interview, still another week or two before you hear back if you got the position or not. So the application process is very lengthy. So even if you feel like very confident about getting a position and getting a job offer, it may happen that you end up not getting it. And if you waited that time for however many weeks that was, that's just time lost that you could have been spending applying to more things. So even if you're fairly confident, I still recommend that you do keep applying to other positions just in case, because you never really know until you hear back that final like yes or no if you got a position. And then something else a little more positive is to just put it out into the universe that you are searching for jobs and like what you're looking for. You never know, like someone you know may come across a position or might like know someone or know like hear of an opening that you would be a great fit for, but they wouldn't know to tell you about it if they don't know that you're job searching. So like literally just putting it out, like telling people that you're searching, can really, really help you. Also, so in addition to putting out that good energy, another thing that you can do is to help your peers, especially if you're graduating. You know that there are a lot of other people graduating with you. So when you're searching, if you see something that you know like another person would be interested in, like definitely share that opportunity with them. It's all about just putting out that good energy, and hopefully some of it comes back to you too. So yeah, just be as helpful as you can. It's a stressful time for everyone. And then you'll also want to think realistically about your financial situation. So if you can afford to be unemployed for a few months, that's totally fine. You can just spend that time like completely focusing on job searching. But do be, again, just very realistic with yourself. If you are not in a position where you can support yourself and searching for a few months, then you might want to consider looking for part-time or seasonal jobs, or just anything, even if it's not related to your field or like really what you want to be doing. Just like if you just need money, then you'll also want to like look for that, some even potentially like before you really, or at the same time that you're like delving into your deep like full-time job search. And this is different for international students who only have I think it's like 90 days of unemployment. So do know that this is a little different for international students. And if I'm not super up to date with everything that's happening with OPT, so definitely, if you have questions around that, definitely talk to Humio in the International Students and Programs Office. But otherwise, 3 to 6 months of unemployment after graduation is very, very common and standard. So it does feel like a very long time, and gets very, very tiring, but just know that it is very, very common. And the length and time of your search can be affected by a lot of different things, including how narrow or broad your search is, with things like position types, industries, and locations. So if your search is more broad, like if you're applying to a lot of different types of positions in just different industries or like in different locations, the time of your search may be less. Whereas if you're have a more narrow search, like you're only looking for maybe a certain position type or two, or like in one industry only, or like you're location bound to just like one place, that may lengthen the time of your job search. So just to be aware of, it's totally fine to have a narrow search. You just want to be prepared that it may be a little longer that you are searching, which is fine. Also, it's a lot easier said than done, of course, but try not to be too hard on yourself. It is really a numbers game a lot of the time. There's, I feel like, the saying of you have to get however many no's before you can get a yes. So that's very much the case a lot of the times. Yeah, and even like now, especially with the time that we're in, can be a little harder. I'm not really sure how COVID is going to be affecting like these usual stats of like times of unemployment or searching. So that may affect things too. And I'm not really sure how. But try not to compare yourself to your peers. Again, I know way easier said than done. Um, and if you are in your search, and you're like getting interviews and like interviewing for a lot of stuff, but you're just like not getting that offer in the end, it might not be anything that you're doing wrong, especially if you're getting to like final round interviews. That's a good sign that you're doing a lot of things right. It just may be that the applicant that they choose has like this one specific thing that the employer is looking for, that's totally outside of your control. So I know that that's very, very frustrating, but that's just how it is sometimes. And things, you'll eventually get a job and you'll eventually get a job that you love. It just may not be in the timeline that you were expecting, and that's okay. It's yeah, it's fine. I know job searching is very stressful, but it all pans out in the end. And that's all I have for this presentation. Are there any questions about anything from that?